Hi, this is Mr. Cordes, and today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about persuasive writing. Persuasive writing is very unique in the way that it communicates a message to the readers. You are trying to convince someone of something, and it's done through word choice, through kind of like manipulative phrases, through a convincing tone that's still academic, that's still credible. Um, all of those fancy words is you have to convince someone of something. Okay. You have to convince your parents to let you go out on the weekend. You have to convince your parents to give you a couple extra bucks to go spend down at the plaza. You have to convince your parents that you don't have any homework. I mean, we do it all the time to have people kind of get on our side, get on our team. And for us, we are going to focus in on Romeo and Juliet. So you guys have studied now for weeks Romeo and Juliet. We've pulled apart this story. We've pulled apart these characters. Um, the story results in Romeo and Juliet um, killing themselves for true love. And we need to figure out who's responsible. So some of you guys may say it's Friar Lawrence. Some of you guys could say it's Romeo. Some of you guys could say it's Juliet or Mercutio. Maybe even Tybalt is responsible. Okay. Whoever you select, you have to identify the reasons why that person is responsible and be able to articulate that in writing and convince your readers. So we do persuasive writing. So usually persuasive writing deals with our emotions. It deals with this like specific word choice and word selection. So let me kind of go through this first. Take a moment to make sure you've got a piece of paper in front of you so that you can take some notes. You don't have to have all of this information in front of you, but the big major points will be helpful for you as you kind of piece together who is to blame for Romeo and Juliet. So as we get started, there's the emotional peel. Okay, let me make myself a little bit smaller here, and I'm kind of primarily focusing on advertisers. They try to convince you that you need their product. Long time ago, Apple came out with a advertising campaign for the like new music device, the iPod. And their marketing device was, "What color iPod are you?" Kind of insinuating that everyone has a color and everyone is on board with this and you get to pick your color and therefore that is yours. The thing is that we're not an iPod. And so you look at this, marketing, you look at this advertising, you look at this persuasive type of writing, and it really tries to kind of bring people in. You kind of try to get them on your team to understand what your product is or to understand what you're trying to convince them of. So keep in the back of your mind that you are trying to convince your readers that your person is responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet. So emotional appeals, that's our first one. How tragic would it be if Romeo and Juliet died? How unfortunate, how sad, how catastrophic, right? Writers and advertisers use many techniques to convince you to buy their products. So if you look at this little example here, it says studies show that kids who grow up participating in the arts score higher on an SAT by an average of 51 points on verbal and 38 points on math. So that's power of creativity. Meaning if you purchase these crayons, you're giving your child the opportunity to be creative, and then therefore they will score higher on tests. So the emotional appeal tries to make readers connect in some sort of way. You need to connect with your readers to say, Friar Lawrence made some pretty rash decisions, right? Mercutio went off of his feelings. Romeo did not think and only went off on his feelings. You need to kind of pull people in to an emotional connection that you have with your character. Okay. There's different types of emotional appeals, and you can jot these down and we can add them to your list because not all of them will apply to Romeo and Juliet. So usually it comes in the form of loaded language. Loaded language is phrases or words that kind of encompass all of what you're trying to say. Okay. So loaded language uses things like, isn't it unfortunate that Juliet had no other options? Right? That's loaded language to say that she was stuck in this place when that may or may not be the case. Right? Um, Unfortunately, Romeo was a byproduct of his friends. Okay, so unfortunately kind of insinuates that Romeo had no control over what Benvolio and Mercutio were going to do. So loaded language kind of grabs onto these like broad brushstrokes. I'll use that metaphor, that kind of compass. So if I get up in front of class and I say, everyone is, unfortunately, we all have to do that. Like if I say something that kind of grabs us on and we're stuck there, then it's a loaded language. If I come up and I say, you have the option of selecting here and here, then that gives you a little bit more freedom and flexibility. So a bit for you to make your own decisions. Here, you don't want people to make their own decisions. You want them to agree with you in your thesis statement of this person is responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet. So there's basic needs, bandwagon mentality, testimonials, and snob appeal. And some of this will apply to you and some of it won't. So you've written this down right here, loaded language. If you take a look here, let me kind of click through all of this. Boom. Loaded language techniques uses words that cause a strong feeling. So it brings up maybe emotions from the past, maybe same emotions. The idea of math gives everyone anxiety, may trigger anxiety in some people, but it may not in others. Okay. So this little example, it says, don't be square, right? The idea of you want to be included, you want to be accepted. So don't be square, don't be an outcast. And it's showing you what looks like a piece of pizza, but if you look carefully, it's actually a piece of dessert. And so once the reader is feeling strongly connected, he or she will make an agreement with that. Like, oh yeah, I don't want to be square. I want to be incorporated. I want to be a part of this. So I'm going to stay with what's relevant. So loaded language can be used in your writing to say, every 13-year-old girl feels alone at times, Juliet felt alone when her father said that she had to marry Paris. So there are ways to kind of pull that in, that loaded language of those feelings or those emotions. Okay. The next one, or here's another example, like Groovy Mom. This was an ad on a kid's lunchbox food, like a Lunchable. The idea that, if I purchase this, then I too will be groovy. I too will be hip or in the scene. It's the idea that, the mom feels like she is good because she is providing that for her child, so to speak, right? When that's not really how we gauge things. So the second thing, basic needs, are techniques that kind of incorporate human emotions that are necessities. So love, safety, security, convenience, health, money, all of those things are basic needs. Especially for us with love, we can do the idea that Romeo just simply desired for someone to love him back, right? Juliet felt loved and known for the first time by Romeo. We can talk about the love that Mercutio had for Romeo when he stepped in and fought Tybalt because he didn't want his best friend to be scrutinized and shamed. Like we can manage around it through that. So Juliet wanted to feel safe, right? What was most convenient for them? What was in the realm of those basic needs that they were desiring? Okay. We usually use this to get them on board to agree with our thesis statement, right? The point we're trying to prove. This right here was an example taken from a low-fat frozen dinner. It says here, if you are what you eat, don't be a 4-day-old burrito. Okay. Do something good for yourself, right? That's a basic need. Do something good for yourself. Food, it's basic, it's nutritious, you need it. However, they're saying don't be an old burrito, but it's okay if you're a low-fat frozen dinner, which I don't know if they have the same nutritional value. I'm not a scientist, but that's essentially what we're dealing with. It's the emotional pull of, oh, I need that, or my life would be easier with this. Okay. That coincides with like bandwagon or convenience. Okay. The bandwagon technique allows the reader to feel like they belong. Everyone is doing it, right? Everyone is a part of this. The example I gave earlier when Apple came out and said, what is your, what color iPod are you? Well, we're not an iPod. We're essentially people, humans. And so the idea of everyone has a color, therefore everyone should have an iPod, just make it specific and unique for you by selecting your own color. So why the world thinks Nivea wrinkle control is better, right? They're talking about this cream, this like rejuvenating cream. I obviously need some. We lost an hour for time change, but that's okay. Are you buying this product? If everyone's buying this product, then I should have this product too, right? It's the bandwagon approach that everyone's on it. The other one is testimonials. This comes into like a very personal style. If you were going to give your own testimony about how you've fallen in love and that your parents were in disagreement, or how you fell in love with someone who was from the other side of the tracks, so to speak, then you could add in the testimonials. We're not going to worry about testimonials because it doesn't apply to our Shakespeare prompt. Okay. There is the snob appeal. Snob appeal, it happens where you feel like you come off better. This one teeters between having snob appeal and then having like being condescending, or almost like offering like totes, or being extremely trite. So those are kind of where that navigates. If you were to say like, oh, you're drinking regular water, well, I have smart water, and you pull out a bottle that's, it's the brand smart water. It's still water. It's just named differently. And it's the snob effect that this is a better water. This helps you become smart, whichever, when water is water. Okay. So better can mean more beautiful, more athletic, you're smarter, you're richer than the average person. Whatever you're gaining kind of helps you get to that top. So sometimes this works. I don't know if this would necessarily work for Romeo and Juliet, but it's that mentality of like, this makes your life better. Okay. So the emotional appeal and these techniques usually persuade the reader to act out on a feeling. So to tell me that true friendship came in the form of Mercutio stepping up to Romeo, okay, that's understandable. Telling me that Tybalt is responsible for X, Y, and Z and getting me on board with his hatred, okay, I'm buying into it. Like, what is it? And you'll be able to do that in your body paragraphs, which we'll talk about later. But the emotional appeal helps us to pull in the readers on an emotional level. Okay. Recognize the emotional appeals. You focus on the facts instead of the feelings, which we're going to have a balance of in our text. So I'm going to show you that in just a moment. So let's exit full screen, and we'll come on back here. Boom, look at that, a little bit bigger. What I'd like you to do right now is go ahead and open up a new tab. And if you would, go ahead into the Google search bar. You're going to type in persuasive word list or persuasive words and phrases. Maybe that will work as well. But this is where you're actually going to kind of find some of the words that I want you to use for your essay. So these could be like sentence starters. These could be specific verbs. Whatever the case might be, this right now is your time to pull 10, 20. This is kind of like your web off the word. This is where you're going in and finding all of those words that you can use to help us convince of your writing. So if images pop up first, that's amazing. Let me click on this image right here. 108. Look at that. 108 most persuasive words. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Oh, it's on this side now. Let's visit this website. If some of your websites are blocked for whatever reason, just let me know. And we can figure that out. So here's the persuasive word list, verbs. Okay, so if I come down over here, I'm able to see a bunch of different words that they have put together. Oh, there's fire. Oh, okay. Now we're into like some blog stuff. We don't need to do that. So let's go back over here. This is going to be a 10, 15 minute activity for you to go through and find these words. So let's say we come down here. Persuasive writing. So important, most, need, sure, definitely, amazing, powerful, must. Like, unfortunately, Juliet had no other option. Okay. Let's see here. I'm just pulling up these words. Am I on images? I think I'm on images, and I don't want to be on images. So let's go back. If I click on all, persuasive word list, there we go. So like 101 persuasive words, 12 most persuasive words in English, the right attitude, persuasive words and phrases. Let's click on this one. This is copyblogger.com. I'm not sure what this will look like. Most persuasive words. How do we make a persuasive sentence interesting? Okay, use the you. We're not using that right now, so we're going to bypass that one. That's a bad example. Free, everybody loves free. Nope, this looks like a marketing thing. So let's go back. Vocabulary list. I like this one. Persuade, influence, manipulate. Romeo manipulated Juliet into his love by talking to her on the dance floor. Maybe that's what it was, right? Alliteration, anecdote. Look at all these words that we know from our terminology. Metaphor, pun, reasoning, position. Okay, juxtaposition. Yeah, those are good too. Let's go back again. Ooh, no, that's not it. All right, actually, let me try this. Persuasive word examples. Limit, guarantee, because. Those are some of our strong words. Persuasive in writing. Oh, I like this little activity. Let's look at this one. Ooh, maybe this might even work. So, okay. They've got a lot of personal items, which is fine. We can use those to get started. So like finally, likewise, besides, again, certainly, as evidence. That's a good one. For example, for these reasons, on the whole, in short, those are all good ones right there, even though that looks somewhat elementary. But I want to give you guys some quality time to go through here and begin to find some persuasive words. So maybe if I even put persuasive words and phrases, maybe PDF. That's always a word. Oh, signal words, transitional words, introductory words. What did we find? Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, this is amazing. All right, so transitional words. As you can see, we could change that to as a person can see. Okay, you guys know how to change that. Undoubtedly. Equally important. This is probably the best one that we've found so far. Well done. Actually, I'm going to save it so that I have it. Look at that persuasive writing right there on my desktop. You guys can do the same. Or bookmark this page or wherever it is. You guys can follow along and get it. Here's some compare and contrast. Cause and effect. That might actually be the best for us because we're talking about how our characters did something or acted something or didn't do something, and therefore there was a cause and effect. So therefore, due to, because, consequently, that's not one, accordingly, leads to, made possible, gives reason to, was responsible for, look at that. Okay. So I typed in, let's go back to see if we can find where we were. I typed in persuasive words and phrases PDF. It was the very first item that came up. So if I go down, I'm pretty sure I'm going to find some more PDF. Readingrockets.org. That sounds pretty good. Persuasive. Okay, same. Obviously, this will cause, if these plans go ahead. Yeah, that looks a little bit elementary right there, though. And that's okay. But why don't you take a couple minutes, persuasive emotional language. I'm like a kid in a candy store right now. Take some time to start to go through. Oh, look at the jackpot. We did it. We did it. Great job, guys. Look at vocabulary to improve extended reasoning. I like that one. Ooh, creates a feeling of, conveys, evokes, suggests. Let me move out of the way over here. Cause and effect. This one might be a good one. I'm going to save this one as well, just to my desktop. Okay, so now let's take about 5, 10, 7 minutes. I want you on your piece of paper, on your notes, to come up with a list of words that you feel that are comfortable that you want to use in your writing. These will be helpful and beneficial as we get later on, or as we continue on in the writing process. Our goal is to get our body paragraphs down with textual evidence, with commentary, with kind of character analysis. And then we're going to grab some of these persuasive and emotional language words and kind of stick them in wherever. But the purpose of this lecture is for you to understand, how do I emotionally bring in my reader? How do I get them on my team to believe what I am saying, to help prove my point? Okay. Ask me, raise your hand if you have any questions or concerns. Take about the next 5, 10 minutes to find some additional words, to write down some of these words. And yeah, here we go. Persuasive writing.